Hey YouTube, welcome back to another drawing video. This is Student Ty Gamers coming at you with a little bit of a different video, in regards to art. I know the last one I did was actually more for, drawing people, but this is actually my attempt at drawing scenery, something that I've been trying to work on over the last, few months or something. I decided that since I was getting decent at depth perception and I had kind of a good grasp on detail, I wanted to bring you guys some tips and tricks for, how to make your guys's, scenes or, just drawing portraits of landscapes or whatever. Make it come out a little bit cleaner, nicer, or just, more better. Now I know, like I said, by no means am I a professional artist or anything, but I have a few tips and a few tricks that I could use to kind of help you guys out. Now this video is a little bit longer than the last one, just because this picture took me about 2 hours to finish. If you can see here in the beginning though, I started off with my lines. The border is kind of where I thought that the paper would not be in the camera, so I had to kind of, make sure that I wasn't going outside of it. And then those beginning lines are actually to show the points of origin, or the focal points where the picture is going to be going to. So, after I decided that, I wanted to start with the right side because the right side was so difficult, in terms of detail. I had the most detail and kind of makes, I always like getting the hardest part out of the way, so that way you can kind of figure out whether or not you're doing the rest of the drawing right later on. So you can see here, I started off with a light, with my regular number 2 pencil, started off with a light trace over everything that I wanted to draw that was going to have detail. And with the the mechanical pencil, I actually started, kind of sharpening in all the details. I think the hardest part for me, to be honest, was trying to make everything straight, because the picture, and you guys will see it on the left hand side, the picture was extremely, bent. It was at an angle, almost like a fish lens, but not quite. And, that, I always like challenging myself, so I push for the hardest drawing. You can definitely find some straight drawings or some, flat drawings, but I really wanted to try and get this down because, this would have been great for it to turn out as good as it did, and, I'm proud of it. But you can see after this, I start getting minor shading and minor details. I like to kind of do that so that way I see, if I take a step back, you'll see there will be times when I kind of back up from it. I'm just, checking my artwork, trying to make sure that it's as good as, I figured it would be. And you can definitely see that there's some parts that turned out better than I would have assumed. But, we're going through the motions, kind of shading it in. I think we do another coat of shading afterwards. Again, this is just number 2 pencil and mechanical pencil. I'm not even using anything too eccentric, or expressive. Definitely if I was going to invest in, better tools or things like that, then, I would. But I need your guys' suggestions on what I should get in order for me to do that, because, I've always been a pencil drawer. I never really got into coloring or anything like that. I mean, I've tried a few times and it's not awful, but it depends on what I'm doing. So you guys can see here, now I'm just really starting to get in a lot of the major elements in the right side. That right hand corner is super duper, filled with just all tons of stuff. There's even a person in the background. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but he's right behind the cinder block thing in between the two umbrellas. Now, this picture was actually taken from a photograph from Dubai. I don't know the name of the bridge that it was taken from off the top of my head, but I will be able to leave that down in the comments below. Part of the thing I'm doing now is trying to get my bearings right. I really want to get those palm trees to look as real as possible. Now, the beautiful thing about using a pencil is you can always just trace over it a little bit harder to get that, that texture difference. And that's what I did with this basically. I was just drawing over what needed to be darker to try and show you that there was some depth in the picture. this is definitely, you know, depth is one of the more difficult things to do, and I know there's a lot of habits that I have that aren't good, but what you can see here is the general idea. You can see that there are things in front of other things, and even in the picture, there is some shading that isn't in the actual drawing that I drew. Also, you'll see, you know, slight differences in between the actual picture and the drawing, only because you want to draw what's going to be noticeable based on how much space you have to draw. For example, that picture is obviously a real life picture, but you know, with the space I had, there was no way I was going to be able to capture all the details, so I had to change some of the stuff up. You'll see minor differences here and there, but that's okay. That's what art is all about. You're supposed to be able to draw with your own uniqueness. As we get into this stuff in the future, I'll be able to draw more, you know, freehand stuff or off my own cusp. I'm doing, you know, going through the motions with some already, you know, pre-made pictures just to show you guys, you know, what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. Now, I know this is a, you know, time lapse. Actually, this is 8 times faster than the original one. Otherwise, we'd be sitting here for an hour and 53 minutes. I don't think you guys want to do that. But other than that, you can see here that I'm kind of incorporating some of the shadows, trying to show where exactly the, you know, the where is that? I forgot the name of it. Where the light is coming from. Now, I almost made a mistake at the end of the video by putting the sun on the right hand corner, and if you guys know why that would have been a mistake, you can see that the sun is, or the shadows are glaring to the right and back, which means that the sun would have had to be at the top left. Now, there's obviously not going to be room for that because I'm going to be filling that in with a, you know, a certain object or, you know, structure, but that's one thing you guys need to make sure of. Wherever you're drawing your you know, putting your shading, or, you know, your darker points or your shaded points, make sure that that correlates with where your sun is, or you know, make sure you don't have a shade on one side and a shade on the other when a light source should be from one, you know, at either one of those spots. That's one of the biggest things that I can say is you need to be able to defer your see, this is one of the things I'm not too familiar with in terms of how to say it. I know how to talk about it, but basically what I'm trying to say is, if you want to make really accurate shadows, make sure that you know where exactly your light source is coming from and stick to it. You can see here that I'm starting to get a little bit back, you know, it gets easier the further down you get because you don't have to put as much pressure on yourself as you did at that right corner where you have to make everything look perfect. You can kind of scribble a little bit back there and it almost looks better. But definitely I'm keeping up with the level of detail that I'm using throughout the entire picture. You can see here, I start to get a little bit bored of the right side, so I went to the middle. I wanted to change things up. I wanted to kind of like take a deep breath, because this is a longer picture now. 2 hours is not the longest I've ever taken to draw something, but it is a decent length, especially since it was about 1:30 in the morning when I started it. That's a good tip for you guys as well. If you're ever starting to get bored or really strained at a certain position, if you're drawing something super duper repetitive and you're just like, oh, I can't do this, switch up where you're drawing. You know, draw a different part or draw a different area and kind of give yourself a break from that one area that's, you know, upsetting you or, you know, stressing you out, and come back to it later after you've gotten a lot of the other stuff done. Trust me, it'll help so much. You know, it's unbelievable how much easier it is to finish a drawing when you're getting more points. You know, you get the left corner, you get the right corner, and then do everything in the middle rather than everything at one spot and kind of just, you know, let it wave out. You can see here I kind of go back a little bit just to get that little piece done. At this point, the hardest part is almost out. You know, there are definitely a bunch more things. I think I was only about halfway through the photo at this point. You know, maybe about an hour in, but there's a bunch of stuff in the back. I couldn't tell you what all those things are in the, you know, whatever's in the photo all the way back there, but I could tell you that I was going to put them in and, you know, leave them there. Aesthetically, I don't know why they're there. I don't know if they serve a purpose, but I'm assuming it's just, you know, for whatever reason. So I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna not put it in there. It makes more sense to just put it in there and to give you guys the most realistic, you know, thing. Now I know my drawing isn't photorealistic, and that's kind of done on purpose because, I mean, unless you have incredible artwork and, you know, hand-eye coordination, it's going to be very difficult to be able to do that with, you know, just a mere pencil. I can definitely try that stuff in the future if you guys want. This was just one of those things where I wanted to get the best, you know, sketch, you know, that I could for you guys, and kind of mix it around with a little bit of photorealistic pieces. One of the beautiful things about drawing scenery is everything should be shaded. Just, you know, you need to learn how to shade it different colors. Your lightest color should not be white, you know, because then it almost looks as if you're leaving something out. You should always have a light gray, you know, kind of darken it, and then the most dark areas, you know, almost black. That'll make for a much more detailed looking drawing. You can see here that I kind of did the shadow connecting those two things. I don't know why it was connected in the real photo. I was actually very interested in that. Why did that shadow come so far out to, you know, to that little cinder block in the back? But, you know, I decided I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just going to go ahead and draw it down with the rest of the stuff. So, and it looked pretty nice. It gave a little bit of, I don't know, realism to it, in a sense. Now, I was having some problems with the bricks that are in this walkway. It just, I did not want to sit there and draw brick by brick. It would have killed me. So I tried to kind of give it as, you know, scrappy a look as I could. It, you know, kind of gritty feeling, so that way it would look like there's a lot of texture. Definitely could have improved on that. I wouldn't say take my texture ideas or my texture habits, because they're obviously not the best, but you know, I decided to just color it in due to, you know, time. And if I decide to go back one day and draw brick by brick, then, or if you guys have an easier way of putting some little bits of texture like that, please let me know. I'll be glad to incorporate that into my further photos. At this point, like I said, you see me kind of just rushing up this little corner. I really just wanted to get that, you know, that color in for the walkway, because it was killing me, you know, to have that left out. I think I do go back and kind of try and darken a little bit, but you know, for the most part, it kind of stays the same. At this point in the photo, I'm like, okay, you know, I'm feeling good. I've got a few more things to do, and I'm pretty much done. You aren't going to be able to see that I kind of did put some ripples in the water at that, you know, bottom left corner, that mid left corner. There were some ripples. I don't know if you could really tell. My camera quality is not great, neither is my lighting. But at this point, I decided there is actually a tower, or like a skyscraper at the left. Now, it looks like it's at an angle because the photo made it seem that way, and I had to try and incorporate that, even though this photo is all wacky. You know, it bends, it curves, and it makes for a very awkward looking situation, which is why I really had to incorporate as much as I could at different angles. And, you know, I apologize if there's something I missed out on, but, you know, this was just not, you know, I always like to challenge myself in these videos. I'm not just giving you guys, you know, the easiest possible thing. I want to do the best thing that would be as challenging yet beautiful as possible. But without further ado, it's pretty much done. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys want to see more drawing videos, please let me know down below. I love doing these. Thanks so much. And without further ado, stay classy, ladies and gentlemen. Peace out. Hey YouTube, welcome back to another drawing video. This is Suit and Tie Gamers coming at you with a little